Hello and welcome to C Sims in San Diego. I have the fortunate ability to see my dear friend Kirill Tarasenko, who is here not only as an attorney but as a vendor. Welcome to my world.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here. Never been a vendor before.
Yeah. So, tell us why you chose to come out to C Sims conference.
Okay, so I was talking on the phone about a week ago to Dr. Jacob Rosenberg, who's one of the main doctors here at the conference. I was telling him about my software. It's called mykai.ai, and named it after my son, my little guy. His name's Kai. So we named it mykai.ai, and it's a software that it can work for lawyers and for doctors. So basically, we have a legal version and a med legal version for the doctors. So I was telling Dr. Rosenberg, who does qualified medical examinations, he does QMEs, telling him all about it, and he was listening, and he was like, "Listen, time's of the essence here. Your software sounds fantastic. You know, I want to try it." So he sent me a file, said processed it for him, and he was like, "Oh, this is really fast." I'm like, "Yeah, we processed like 500 pages in 7 minutes, and I think we'll actually speed it up. We started with accuracy."
Wait, say that again. How many pages?
So currently we're at 500 pages in 7 minutes. So
500 pages in 7 minutes. That's
yeah,
impressive.
so 1,000 pages will run you anywhere from 14, 15, 16 minutes, somewhere in there, depending on the complexity of the records. And it's not just running them only. It's summarizing, chronologizing, blue hyperlinks. It allows the doctor to be able to access the data. I mean, everything, CPT codes. So we processed a file for Dr. Rosenberg, and he said, "Listen, there's this conference going on, San Diego. It's in just a couple days. I'll put you in touch. Let's see if we can get you to exhibit." So I spoke with Monica,
Yeah.
and we got the last booth, and you know,
Well.
and here
Here
we
we
are.
are.
So
So cool. And I get a call from him on what is just the other day, the day before we were supposed to come, so Tuesday, just to see if I was here. And I too came in last minute as well. So I love how all the world comes together. And I was just sitting here thinking, long ago was it that we've known each other? And it's been 7 years now, because in 2017 is when I was working for a company to go. Sacramento is my territory, and that's how we were able to meet. And here we are. Now I have my own company, and now you have a company in this space as well, and it's so cool. Um, Tell us about how you developed this. What gave you this concept? I know you were telling me this great story about how you were going through a deposition and having to pull specific information. And tell us more.
yeah, so it was probably about 2 years. So let me just start with my two partners are here at the conference as well. So Anthony Hanrahan, our technical officers
Right on.
here, and Chris Jones, who's our COO, is here as well. I'm
Yes.
CEO. So anyway, so what happened was, I run a personal injury practice in Sacramento. About 2 years ago, we were working on a file where we were given discovery, and it was a death case. We handle a lot of death cases, and there was something like 8,000 pages in the file. And I also knew that wasn't going to be all of it. I knew there'd be more coming. So I needed those 8,000 pages basically summarized, chronologized. Like I needed them to be put in a better sequence. There was a lot of handwriting in the file, so there was a lot of text and handwritten notes. And
Which
so
is always hard to decipher, right? Sometimes.
yeah, doctor handwriting is just the best.
Gotta love it.
Like what did he say?
And Tarasenko, and I say Tarasenko, your last name. Kirill can say this because his father is a doctor. So there you go.
Oh, everyone knows doctor handwriting is
That's right.
terrible. So yeah, so we get this file, and and again, it's all over the place. And so we're trying to basically sequence and index the file. And years ago, I'd used a company I think they were out of India to do a medical file, but it had been a while since I'd used an outside company to do it. So, we reached out and we said, look, we've got about 8,000 pages, nothing too complex, but nonetheless, we need them processed, indexed, chronologized. They got back to us and the quote was like something like $4,000 or $5,000, and they wanted like 3 to 4 weeks, and I couldn't believe it. So it was, I don't know, something like
Wow.
40 or 50 cents a page. It would take weeks, and I was
Wow.
thinking, I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no, this there's got to be a better way.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So at that time, I had someone working in my office who had been sort of playing around with ChatGPT.
Mhm.
I hadn't really been working much with
Mhm.
AI at that point. It's about 2 years ago. So when I said, look, we've got this file. Isn't there a way that we should be able to use AI for this? And initially, he was like, yeah, of course, let's try. So we
Mhm.
tried, and what we found is we were basically pretty disappointed. So not only can ChatGPT and all Claude and all these other Dolly, all these other AI software out there, not only can they not process a large file, they can only process a few pages. They can't process multiple documents, and that's a key point. And this is
Yes.
something like Dr. Brigham and there was a few speakers here at the conference
Mhm.
talking about AI. So those software, they can't process multiple documents. They can do one, and it has to be a very small file. But if the file is only, let's say, 5 pages, do you really need it summarized?
Right.
It's already
Right.
short. It's
Exactly.
the 1,000, the 10,000, the 20,000. Those are the ones you want summarized, right? And again, the publicly available AI can't do that. So we said, okay, well, here's a problem, right? Here's a need. So we started researching what can do this. And so we ended up basically just kind of brainstorming. We brought in a guy who was more involved in tech than I was, more familiar with AI at the time. And we ended up basically hiring engineers. We built a team, and we just kind of set out to solve a problem that we had within my practice. It
Right.
wasn't really intended originally to be like a company.
Sure.
It
You
was just,
found a solution.
well, it was like we found a problem and we
Yep.
had an idea.
Mhm.
So initially, we were basically building an engine from scratch. We were just building a product from nothing. And there's a lot of frustrations, and we ended up. My good friend Mike Wilson, who's actually here at the conference as well. He's kind of like a mentor to us. He's been working. He's an AI researcher. He's been working with AI for longer than anyone I know, and so he's
Mhm.
been kind of a mentor to us. And he was watching what we were doing. He was watching our progress. At some point he was like, "Look, I'm really impressed that you guys have accomplished what you've accomplished, but he was like, you guys are doing this in a really difficult way. Like, there's a
Mm.
better way. You're
Yeah.
basically recreating the wheel here. There's got to be a better way." So, anyways, long story short, we ended up kind of switching gears. We ended up focusing more on basically taking some existing software out there, putting it together, finding out a way to use, document intelligence and vision and all these other things that were out there, and just training it and working with it and making it our own. So we were more focused. So I guess one analogy would be, it's kind of like if you have an an engine for an RV,
Mhm.
but there's so many different types of RVs out there. But yet, what are they all using under the hood? They all have some sort of
Something different.
a Ford or a Chevy engine, but
Mhm.
yet the RVs are drastically different.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit like that. So we ended up kind of developing our own software, using some things that existed and just fine tuning and training. And we originally set out, well, so yeah, we want to solve the problem. But once we sort of got into it, we realized, well, this has a lot of different potential uses.
Mhm.
Not only for lawyers, but the more we looked at it, the more I was like, you know what? There's better use cases, and that's when we kind of thought about doctors, QMEs,
Yes.
taking medical records. Just finding a better way to summarize any large file, essentially.
Absolutely.
So it
And
could be used in potentially in research, in science,
yeah.
in
Many
data.
platforms need this. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how many languages? Well, you don't know how many languages, but you've not been in a language you haven't.
So we can process over 100 languages.
Hmm.
Pretty much, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a language that Kai AI cannot handle. So if you bring, just the other day,
Wow.
somebody called me and said, I've got records in Korean. I said, okay, great, let's process it. Processed it. Sure enough, you can take Korean records and put it, obviously translate it to English, but then also summarize, chronologize, however you want it. The other thing that our software does that people seem very impressed by is it can take, like if you're a lawyer, you've probably seen this before. Clients will take like important documents, like a release or a police report,
Hmm.
and maybe they don't have a scanner. They don't
Hmm.
scan it. They'll put it like on their bed sheet or something, nice like paisley tablecloth or bedspread,
Right.
and take
And
a
take a
photo,
picture.
and then you get all these terrible black and white
Pictures.
photos on
Yes.
like a comforter or
Oh,
something.
right.
We get it all the time, or like the release. But
Hmm.
our software can actually take data from that as well. So we can actually scan even like a photograph, which is tough for software to do, and it can handle handwriting. So I mean, there's handwritten doctor notes we've seen that human beings cannot figure out. Maybe you pick up a word or two, but
Yeah,
you're missing the document, and Kai picks it up. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
it's awesome. So we've got doctors and attorneys here, so this is a great place for you to be.
Yeah, so I mean, the way we present it, we kind of say, look, there's basically two different products essentially. They're very similar but slightly different. For the lawyers, it's more interactive. So basically, you would put in whatever you want. Let's say deposition transcripts. So you could put in 5, 10 transcripts, and you could say the software is very good with perspective. So you could say, I am a plaintiff lawyer. I am a doctor. I am, whoever you are in that case. I am the deponent. And so you could say, I'm a plaintiff lawyer, and the more detail, the better. My objective is I need to prove that, this witness was aware of this fact, or that this was a non pre existing condition, whatever it is that you're trying to prove. So you could just say, analyze these 10 transcripts, and then you put in a prompt. And what I find is that lawyers, lawyers seem to lose their creativity as the longer they practice, the less creative they tend to be. It seems like. So one of the challenges is just explaining to the lawyer, like, look, this is like, imagine you're talking to a team of like the smartest associates you've ever spoken to, and you have a detailed instruction. You're not going to approach those associates and say, summarize, right?
Right.
You're going to give them a detailed instruction of what you want.
Exactly.
Treat it like
Specific.
that.
Yes.
Because if you give it a vague instruction like summarize, which is for some reason what everyone seems to want to do, that's where the results are not going to be great. You want to give it specific instruction. So it's kind of a joke, but it's like if you're talking to the world's smartest dog that knows 10,000 commands, and then you just say command, and the dog looks at you like,
Well,
I know
which one?
10,000 commands.
Right.
What do you want? Right? It's like that. So you got to understand that the software is very intelligent, and the user needs to give it what they really want. And then and if the result is not quite what you wanted, re-ask the question.
Right.
It's like you're talking to a genie. Like
Exactly.
your wish didn't quite
Right.
become
Well,
its
let's
command.
ask a different way now.
Yeah, just say, all right. So then re-ask it. So it's more interactive for
Yeah.
for the lawyers. For the doctors, it's more static, less interactive because doctors typically don't need to talk to the software. They don't need to prompt it. Not to say that they can't have access to it. It's not like, we're not going to say, oh, you're a doctor, you can't access it. No, sure, if you want to use the legal version, no problem. But for the doctor's version, it's basically more it's more standardized because we know what the doctors look for. We know what community doctors need. Occasionally, we do have doctors that have a very different need. Like let's say maybe you have a I don't know, internal medicine doctor who's highly interested in lab results. Then okay, we can put particular emphasis on lab results. You might have another doctor, a surgeon or whoever who has no interest in lab results at all. We might be able to exclude some criteria. So there's some kind of like positive space and negative space within criteria that can be edited, and then ultimately you can have a more detailed or a less detailed summary, just depending on your needs.
Right on. And I know you were showing me an example and how AI is not biased. And so tell us that, story that led you to here, like where, you could even say how many times did somebody say jerk or whatever. You asked it how was the other counsel, is he a jerk or something like that, and it said all these different ways that he was.
Yeah. So okay. So AI in general is very neutral, right?
It
It
doesn't get emotional.
well,
It's
it
right.
doesn't take any. It
Right.
just tends to be neutral. So it tries to evaluate something objectively, is how to put it.
Yes.
And so I had a case, this was a personal case I had where we just had a opposing lawyer who was just not allowing witnesses to answer questions. If it, and there was some damning evidence, and the
Oh, that's
better
right.
the better
Yeah.
the question that was posed to the witness, the more he would go ballistic and not allow answers and be combative and all kinds of things to obstruct the depo. Arguing, coaching the witness, and he would just do it on multiple, like several depositions in a row. And so the problem for attorneys is that you only have a very limited amount of time to file a motion to compel further deposition if it's if it's something of significance.
Sure.
And so, this was, what do we have? Something like 5 or 6 depositions. And, and this was a very technical, very challenging case. And so these weren't like light depositions. This was like heavy stuff. And so it was a situation where, each one, I don't know, 500, 600 pages, 5 or 6 of them. So you're talking about easily 3,000, maybe 4,000 pages total. And for somebody like myself or another lawyer to have read all of these, found certain points to make the point that, look, there's a lot of improper obstruction here, it would have taken, I estimated, somewhere between 15 to maybe 16 hours of attorney time, not to mention writing the actual motion. That's just pulling out the data I needed. But we ended up processing it through Kai. And I gave it the prompt. I said, look, I'm the plaintiff attorney here. I believe the other lawyer engaged in obstruction. Here is the transcripts. And pull out all the examples of obstruction. And sure enough, I mean, it processed so fast, because depositions are actually, PDFs are actually a very like clean document, is what we call it. It's not, there's no handwriting, there's no picture to scan. So it's much cleaner and smoother. So the process is faster. So PDFs of depositions are lightning quick. So it processed all those, and then it came up with like 5 categories of different types of deposition obstruction that was found throughout these transcripts. It gave the 5 categories. It pulled out every example, and then it hyperlinks with blue hyperlinks, so you can click on it to take you to the evidence of where did this occur, what page did it occur at,
Yeah.
and
That's so
it just
cool.
made putting together a motion much easier, saved me a ton of time.
Way quicker. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I've shown that to a number of lawyers, and the reaction's always the same. You always get this chuckle, like, oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Right. So, lawyers get excited about that. And then for the doctors, it's just a massive time savings for them too. Currently most doctors and, QME doctors
QMEs.
and companies, they're, of course the doctor has to read the records themselves. Of course, that's a given. No one's saying otherwise. They have to
Of
flip, they have
course.
to go through the
Read
records.
it. Yes.
But as we all know from school, reading a book and writing a book report, are those the
Two
same
different.
things?
Yeah.
Not at all, right? Totally
100%.
different.
Right.
You might be able to read a book in a few days, but writing that report could take a long time,
Yes.
because you got to think about it. You need to find, quotes. A book report. We've all done it. So the idea here is, it's one thing for the doctor to read the records. It's another to take 1,000 or 10,000 pages and summarize them. And so right now, many people send them abroad, overseas. They send them to companies to process. And the challenge there is, everyone's of course worried about HIPAA compliance or worried about patient privacy. It's a black hole. You have no idea if you're sending your records overseas, who's processing the records, who's seeing them. What if there's a, I don't know, disgruntled employee or something of that company that sends them out?
Yeah.
You have no idea who has access to the records or who's summarizing them.
Right.
That person's name doesn't appear. And so, not to mention the fact that it takes a long time. Just like
Right.
in my experience, where we asked a company, it was an Indian company in that case, to process our 8,000 pages, and they gave me a quote of thousands of dollars in 3-4 weeks. Same thing here. So the same, doctors and QME companies have to wait. We've heard minimum 4 days, and as long as a month. And then they get charged per page. They get charged handling fees, all kinds of things, and they have to wait a long time. Well, we can process, like I said, at this point, 500 pages in 7 minutes, so we can process a large file very quickly. So,
Yeah.
so doctors are amazed when they send us a file and say, okay, I want a sample, like show me the quality of the work, and we send it right back, and then they say, whoa, wow.
Like they're blown away.
Yeah, and and
Yeah.
what we found is there's a lot of companies out there that are claiming to be AI, but really I think the proof is in the processing time. So if someone is claiming to be an AI company, but their turnaround time is still 4 or 5 days, 7 days, whatever it may
Yeah.
be, they're not a software company.
No.
They're a service company with an AI component, but it's still human beings that are still doing it.
Yeah.
They just like to throw around the word AI because it's kind of a hot
Sure.
word right now.
Of course.
But no, like ours is purely software. I mean, the idea is we give the user, the doctor or the QME company, access to the software. They drag and drop their own file, just like, I mean, there's no learning curve at all. It's like sending an email. So you would just take the file,
Exactly.
drop
Load
it,
it in.
process it, and if it's a very large file,
Take a little bit.
you could do it in the evening.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning, it'll be done.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it's very fast, and the speed makes a big difference
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
ask any doctor. They get frustrated if they do the exam of the patient, right, for like a QME.
Mm-hmm.
They want to write the report, they're ready to go, but there's no
They
summary
don't have.
available.
Yeah.
They might have to, it might slow things down. And so here
That's
you've got
awesome.
the file's just gonna, it's going to be ready.
Wow. And what's your price point on this?
Good question. So our price point, it's 15 cents a page for the
Mm-hmm.
QMEs, although it is possible to go cheaper depending on volume. So it
Yeah.
could go down to 12 cents a page. We can potentially go as low as 10 cents a page, which
Mm-hmm.
is extremely low, extremely cheap.
Sure.
But that would be,
Jeez.
assuming volume.
Yeah.
So if someone needed, I don't know, 800,000 pages processed over a month or something because they have many cases,
Mm-hmm.
it's possible to get volume discount like that. But it's there's a lot of expenses associated in our end as well. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's free to run. There's a lot of
100% that goes into
a
this.
lot that goes into it. Per page for the engineers, for the
Mm-hmm.
prompting.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, we can also customize it to some extent as well, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone has special criteria or special needs or a certain type of report they want, it can be customized. But of course, that's additional
Additional, of
engineering. That's
course.
additional software writing. So we want to make sure that we can meet your needs, but let's make sure that you're specific in your request so that we
Mm-hmm.
can we can give you what you need basically.
Absolutely, and that they're all in agreement.
Hmm.
We want that. And well, it sounds like you're doing some big, great things, and I love that you're behind this. It's awesome. I think you're going to do very well with this. And if I can be of any support in this space with you, be happy to. And so, what else? I mean, you're doing the AI software, but you are a very good attorney up in Sacramento, handling cases all throughout the state.
Oh yeah.
And what would you say? I'm gonna give you a little, you know, ability, a plug to say what you do and how you help.
Well, I would just say that in my experience, pretty much everyone that I've come to know in the personal injury space or just civil litigation, everyone on the plaintiff side has a big heart.
Yeah,
We don't work for insurance companies; we work for the
yeah,
people.
I'd say
And so I
that.
want to make sure that we're that both in my practice and always striving to help people, and also making sure we respect doctors and respect doctors' time and what they do. You know that's why we create a software to save time. This is not meant to eliminate jobs like some people have said about
Right.
AI. I
No,
think,
we still need that.
yeah, not at all. This is just a
Yeah,
tool,
it's a
right?
tool to help us be better.
Yeah, it's just a tool. And I think some people have misconceptions about AI. Some
Mm-hmm.
people have, some kind of
Totally.
preconceptions that they have.
But AI is just so broad, if you will.
Yes.
It
And
is very broad.
I mean, it's a large language model,
It
and so
is.
some people just have unrealistic expectations of what it's capable of, or fears or something, and it's just really not that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
basically just taking large files and analyzing them without any bias and
Yeah.
extracting data and helping you, whatever it is that you're looking to do. So it's just a tool.
None.
It's kind of like the way I put it. It's like if you've ever seen like a NASCAR race, right? You ever seen like how fast a modern pit stop is? You know,
They're
that car pulls in the pit stop. That
they all
crew,
have a job.
everyone has a job, right? Every guy knows exactly. Okay, this is my drill. I'm gonna unscrew the lug nuts. I'm gonna take off the tire. Somebody's gonna pump the gas. I mean, they can pull in and be out in like 4 seconds in a modern pit stop, something like that. Like, it's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Like how do you take off
Yeah.
tires that quickly and
Yeah.
change them, right? And it's like if you went back to the, I don't know, 1950s or 60s and you watched a NASCAR race then, I mean, yeah, they were striving for speed back then too, right?
Right.
But they weren't doing a pit stop in 4 seconds. It might have been, I don't know, closer to a minute,
Yeah. Yeah. But
right?
you get better.
Yeah, you get better, and that's sort of like how I view
It's a
our
good way
AI
to put it.
software. It's just taking an existing process, speeding it up dramatically, just to a level where
Exactly.
it's incomparable.
Right.
You're going from a month to process something to a couple of
Right.
hours, and that, guess what that means? Increased efficiency, right? So if you've got a doctor who right now is sitting there for hours processing, summarizing their own file, which again, they don't have to. They do have to read them, yes. They don't have to summarize and process. So now that same doctor could potentially see 3 patients, write
Exactly. I was
three
just gonna
reports.
say more time, more patience to be able to help.
And same thing
Absolutely.
for the lawyers. I mean, in deposition,
Yes.
oh, another thing I want to add, it can draft discovery, it can draft questions. So if you're, I've done it too. I mean, I've been involved in a deposition where maybe it's like a PMK, like a person most knowledgeable,
Mm-hmm.
qualified, and we don't know exactly who the person will be. We don't know exactly what they're going to bring. We could analyze that software, the documents essentially in real time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I could say, look, to Kai AI, draft me 25 well-worded questions designed to prove this particular point, and then
Wow.
give me blue hyperlinks I can click on to
To
extract that
support.
information, yeah, to support whatever point that we're making. And out of, if I say draft 25, it'll give exactly 25. Now, will all 25 be ideal questions? I mean, maybe not. There
Mm-hmm.
might be, there's some
It'll help
judgment
you.
involved. But if you have like an associate helping you draft questions, probably not every single one will be good either.
Right.
But I gotta say, even though like all the litigation I do, there's questions that it'll come up with sometimes. I'm like, oh wow, like I wouldn't have thought of that one.
Wow.
I wouldn't have thought of that. That's a really good point.
That's
Gotta ask that.
cool. It's like having your own little go-to um, resource to just play around with, really, and how you want to strategize around your case, even, and how you want to ask somebody in a deposition next.
Yeah.
What to say, what questions to ask. I mean, my gosh, this is gonna help so many people with their time.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a closed system, so there's no danger of the records being going out somewhere else
Okay.
because
Good
you
point.
process your own file. No one's processing them for
It's
you.
yours.
It's
Yeah.
an encrypted server, so I mean it's very
Okay.
secure. It's like the highest level of security you can get in your
It's
file.
good to know.
They're not going out to anyone else.
Hmm.
A lot of lawyer, everyone's heard that case where a lawyer, I think in New York, got in trouble for drafting some brief using AI because there was like a hallucination, and so
Oh,
you know, lawyers, I don't know if they love that story or if they're terrified of it, but it's like it's turned in almost like into like the McDonald's hot coffee case where
oh,
like
really?
everyone knows it. Everyone's like, oh,
Okay.
well, what about that hallucination in the
Right.
software? Well, it doesn't do that either, and the reason
Okay.
why is
Good.
because our AI is not drawing from the internet. It's not. It's not
Okay.
making
It's
something
what
up.
you put in there,
Yeah, it's a closed
obviously.
universe of information.
Exactly.
So
That makes
if
sense.
it's drawing something out of the medical record,
Mm-hmm.
that's because it's in the medical record.
Right.
It's not going to make up
Perfect.
something that's not there. So
Okay.
there's no hallucination. The accuracy
Okay.
is extremely accurate, and again, speed is just getting faster and faster.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool. Wow. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing this amazing technology and idea that you had. I love how everybody's brains can come together and create. That's what we're doing here today. And yeah, let's create some more amazing support in this space. So
yeah,
I know I got to talk closer to the mic. But Grill, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you.
thank you, Amelia. Thank
And
you.
we'll catch you on the next TBI Analytics podcast.
Yeah, I'd love it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.